Food and weight obsession can be exhausting. Losing weight, gaining weight, dieting, feeling like a failure because you missed a workout, binged, overate, or gained all the weight back. The cycle is endless and it can be maddening. But I'm here to say you can stop the mental madness. You can take back control of your food behaviors, but you have to face your fears, you have to ask for help, and make a change. I am Leslie M. Thornton, permanent weight loss coach from hpwl.co. This is hypnosis for permanent weight loss, and I know you can make this happen. On this podcast, you will hear how to stop the mental madness, love your body, trust your food decisions so you can create a life of happiness, freedom, and inner peace. Hello. Leslie M. Thornton, hypnosis for permanent weight loss. Mindful eating is BS. I just got off a consultation call with a podcast listener, and one of the things we discussed was the annoyance that we've both felt when we've gotten guidance or have read things about how to have a more controlled relationship with food, body, and weight stuff, or specifically with food, how to have a normal relationship, how to conquer overeating and binge eating, is to mindfully eat, aka light a candle, put it on a beautiful plate, put your food down, sit down, say a prayer, feel gratitude, and then take slow bites of food. What this specific person was saying was that when she went to therapy in the past and talked about this, the therapist had her take a piece of Dove chocolate and said, I want you to put this in your mouth and I want you to actually see how long you can actually allow it to like savor in your mouth. And what she said was like, she did it and it was like immediately gone. And then I like jokingly, but understand it, like I understand what that's like, was like, and then you're like, where's the rest of the damn bag? Like I need to eat it right now. And if I don't get it, it's a bad situation. Have you ever felt this way? I remember also going to therapy in my past and letting her know about my issue with food, of not being able to control myself, etc. And there was a candy bowl in her office and she was like, so what do you think about that candy bowl sitting next to you? And I was like, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since I saw it. And like that can be the like seriousness. And you know, if you're in that space, I see you. I understand what you're dealing with. We also talked about food addiction. I said, do you believe that you're a food addict? And she said 100% yes. I'm a sugar addict. Raise your hand if that's you as well. And I also used to believe that I was a sugar addict. And then what I said was, how long have you been believing that you're a food addict or a sugar addict? And for those of you listening, watching, you can, if you have the belief that you're a sugar or food addict, just say, how long have I been believing that? I was able to actually pinpoint it when I learned about it, when we started learning how bad sugar was and how addictive that sugar was. Everything started to make sense for me. It was like, oh my God, this is the reason why this has been going on my whole life, and the addictive properties of sugar. But that actually only caused me to binge on sugar more often. Why the heck does that happen? Well, what I learned in unpacking it, and after following a food addiction program for 3 years, which, by the way, you cannot be addicted to food. You can't be addicted to something that actually keeps your body alive. I know it sounds hard to hear because, Leslie, once I pop, I just can't stop. That's what I used to say about myself. And I had all the evidence of how I was an addict and had an addictive personality and all the rest. But you can look at it and it's like, if you believe that you are a food addict, then guess how you behave? You behave like an addict. If you believe that you are someone who has total peace around food, body, and weight, guess how you act? Totally peaceful around food, body, and weight. But how do you get there? Well, We got some work to do in that regard. And that's what I really found, like underneath addiction of food and bad habits is emotionality. And we may think that we're feeling our feelings. So I talk to different groups of people, usually just one or two different types. There'll be the certain people that are like, oh gosh, I really don't feel my emotions at all. I bottle it in and I know that's why I eat. And there's other people who are like, oh no, I feel my emotions all the time. But consider that if you're not experiencing freedom around food, body, and weight stuff and triggers that go along with that stuff, then that actually means that you're not actually at the source of your feelings. You're not feeling it all the way down. And you're also engaging with your emotions as truth. Like we can think that what we're thinking when we feel sad or what we're thinking when we feel angry or upset or while we're binging or overeating is actually who we are. And it's just not the case. Our mind is something that is working all day long, all night long. It never shuts down. And the thoughts that are going through your mind are just based on the stuff that you've been exposed to in your life since you were born. If you were born in a different family, if you were born on a different planet, you'd be thinking all different thoughts. That was so helpful for me on my journey to see that it's like my biggest question was how come some people don't have to struggle with food, body, and weight stuff and I do? Like, why did I just get handed a bad hand? I understood that I could have a worse hand, but I didn't want to be a food addict. It was annoying. And like so many people that I talk to and all my podcast listeners, it's like I never gave up. I never stopped searching for answers. And I love that I actually provide a program that offers an actual solution to people. It's like the best thing ever. The feedback that I've gotten over all the years I've been doing this is like, I'm upset because I didn't find this sooner. And when people find out that in weeks you can no longer identify as a food addict, no longer be participating in binging, overeating, emotionally eating, sugar overdoing, et cetera, anymore in weeks after years of dieting, success and failure and up and down and black and white, it can be emotional because, you've wasted how much of your life thinking about this. And if you didn't have to think about this anymore, what would you do when you get that mental real estate back? All this to say around mindful eating. So I can say that I mindfully eat now for the most part. But in the beginning, when I went from binging to where I am now, I had to learn how to feel my feelings. And I had to learn how to actually understand what was behind the binge. If you're not a binger, what's behind the overindulgence? What's behind the late night eating? What's behind the whatever habit or pattern that you dislike that you participate in when it comes to this area of your life? It's like, what is behind it? What is the fear? What's the shame? What's the guilt? Where is it coming from? Where did it start? Why does it happen? I have a client right now. It's been so fun to watch him. He had a pattern of continuing to go downstairs after his family went to bed and proceed to eat a bunch of food. He all he wanted initially was to just stop that behavior. He felt overwhelming sense of guilt after he would do it. He felt embarrassment. He was eating food super fast and he knew he wasn't supposed to, but he was doing it anyway. So again, something like this, it's like the answer is not going to be to mindfully eat. Like that is not even something that can remotely touch habits and patterns that quote unquote extreme. So what do? We get curious about the pattern. It's like there is no guilt, there is no shame. It's not wrong and bad that you're doing this. Okay. It's just, let's break it down. Let's look at it. And let's find out what you love about that behavior and not, because it's the number one killer of transformation, which means like having a amazing breakthrough of like, wow, I am not doing that thing anymore. And it is like not even who I am at all. Um, the number one killer of that transformation being available to you is when ego judges ego. So if you immediately are, if you're doing something that you hate, right? Like going downstairs, sneaking food, hiding wrappers, binge eating, emotionally eating, eating when you're alone, eating when you're tired, angry, sad, excited, any of it. Okay. The uh if you judge it, if you're like, I shouldn't be doing this and this is bad, the consultation I had today, same thing. Super self-aware person. She knows all the things. She knows how to eat and what she should be doing, what she can't be doing, but then she does it anyway. And immediately she says to herself, like, what's wrong with you? You know that this doesn't feel good. You know this makes you continue to keep the weight on. You know that you're unhappy about this. You know, like, knowing makes no difference. We need to stop judging ourselves for what we're doing that's wrong. It is part of the mechanism that keeps you stuck. Judging yourself, being angry at yourself, hating yourself, telling yourself you should act different, better now, or else. It just does not work. What does work is when we drop the judgment and get very curious. I always say to my clients, I want you to treat yourself like a science experiment and imagine that you're just observing your behaviors from an outside point of view and just being like, oh, that's interesting. Prior to that binge episode, I was upset, or I had a hard conversation, or I was avoiding something, or I was whatever, right? It could be a whole bunch of things. But when we can like find the patterns, then we can actually work on the issue at the root. Once you do that, so I kind of look at my process with my clients of following this general format, depending on where people are at. But most people, this is the case. It's like, first, we need to work on supporting you and actually getting past the guilt, the shame, and the emotionality that's attached to wherever you're at with your food behaviors, with your body, etc. Point blank, like, period, is just how can we support you to let go of those major negative emotions that are causing you so much turmoil. What we try to do in those major negative emotions is like motivate ourselves to fix it and to eat better and to control ourselves, etc. Mindfully eat. No, 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 no. Never going to happen. We need to actually turn towards the negative emotions, feel them, because the fastest way through is through. And there's also, the tools that I provide. You get the awareness on after you're through the major negative emotions of what you actually want to do. How do you want to be? Here's an example too from a client that I have right now is he was talking about, he's very coachable. He's like, if you tell me to jump, I'll say how high, I'll do anything. Okay, that's wonderful. Obviously, you do need to be coachable. And this permanent solution that I have for people, it's not about following my plan that I'm going to give you, because that will lead to the same result you've gotten your whole life of gaining the weight back, even if you follow my plan perfectly. I could tell anybody how to lose weight right now, but it would be out of integrity because that will be a temporary fix. So I educated him about that, and I said, hey, look, I'm happy to tell you how to eat and what to do and I can 100% get you to weight loss. And I'm out for your permanent success. This is a lifetime, like, transformation. It changes your life forever. Never yo-yo dieting again. Never thinking about this like a crazy person anymore. And if I tell you what to do, it doesn't help with receiving that. And he still said, yeah, but I think, I want to do that. I want to do what's going to work and I want to lose the weight. It's going to motivate me. So I said, okay, meet him where he's at. So I said, okay, we talked about how he doesn't really like eating during the day and whatever, but he really is inspired by being a good father. And so he was like, okay, well, I'm going to, start 3 breakfasts this week and I'm going to do it with my kids and I'm going to be a good example. And then I'm going to have lunch and I'm going to make lunch and I'm going to, right, be doing all these things. He came back the next week and he was like, I hate eating during the day. I don't want to do it. And it's like, okay, we tried it. And that's the thing is like, it needs to be authentically coming from you. And that was my spidey sense for him was like, he didn't want to eat during the day. It wasn't his style. He didn't like it, and I went through my journey and obviously there's all the health facts, right? About how what we need to do in order to lose weight and what's healthy for the body to keep the metabolism going. And we can know all those facts. But if it doesn't match your wants, your chosen lifestyle as a grown ass adult, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. You're not going to be sustainable. So let's do something that is sustainable. And then you master how to continue to check in with yourself and feel in and make tweaks and whatever that's going to fit your lifestyle as you continue to evolve. So I went from not eating during the day, having one meal at night, when I first started, and then, now I eat, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I like it. And, and that's my chosen whatever. And if I wanted something different because my lifestyle changed or something else felt better or I was inspired to do something else, I would do that too. And the thing is, it's like none of it is coming from the shoulds, none of it is coming from the have tos. And my ability to actually make those mindful decisions about my health, same way about the way I'm able to mindfully eat now, is to first get past all the major negative emotions. So once you get past the major negative emotions, then we can think clearly. We can make those decisions. And what happened with my client is now he's making empowered choices for him. He's beyond that. And he's like, okay. And he's like able to actually have this voice of reason that comes in where he's like, has the thought of like, oh, we're going out to dinner. So I can order the whole menu to like, I don't actually need all that stuff and I don't feel good eating that stuff. So I can just have this with a little bit of that. And it's not diet mentality. So there isn't anything that I can't have, which helps with the whole balance situation as well. When you tell your brain you can have anything anytime, it's like all of a sudden choice becomes available and you're not crazy and scarcity thinking and how do I get what I need to get, blah, blah, blah. So now he's already feeling the momentum. He's not going downstairs and overeating. He is able to make rational decisions that he feels empowered and inspired by. And he's seeing how his whole life is going to change now because he has mastered this element. But you cannot see outside of that initial major negative emotion that's coming up, in a area of life that there's just so much drama about. There is just always a new scientific study and the best way to do this and what you need to avoid and what you need. Like, you look back now, there's so much information about just the days of low fat was like a fad and the 100-calorie packs and obviously low calorie. And it's just like, it's so outdated and it's not even what our bodies need and it's not helpful. And without having, a full meal that also includes protein and regardless of calories, like you're going to be hungry all day long. Like there's just so many things that are just, and it's just at the end of the day, there is some guidance, but in order for you to actually get to that space with it, you got to try it on for yourself. You got to figure it out. So with mindful eating, again, it's like, don't even try it, especially if you have a lot of charge around food. If you're like completely neutral around food, then okay, then that makes sense. And it probably feels fine to mindfully eat and light a candle. And it might just be like a little added ritual. But the people who really need my program, it's like, all right, I need to make a change. Like, I am done with the vicious cycle of dieting. I am done with constantly thinking about food. This woman I was talking to tonight, she's like, my mind is always racing. I'm always thinking. And she was just so great. Educated woman, professional. She can do everything else. Why can't she figure this out? There's so much embarrassment around it. I felt the same way. And there's nothing wrong with you. It's just, in the world of coaching, it's what we're doing is we're shining a light on what we don't know that we don't know. What we don't know that we don't know. And yeah, there's just things that are in our blind spots, in all of our blind spots. But once you actually can see it, I have another client and she just posted in the Facebook group today. She was, really challenged with the whole thing and her body way bigger than she wanted it to be. And she is an athlete and has prided herself on physical activity. And now it's like this, it's the embarrassment and the shame, and I'm doing something wrong, and what's wrong with my body, and why can't I figure this out? That whole thing. And just today, she was just like, I have had a breakthrough. Like, I actually am seeing my body and appreciating how strong it is and how I can like do all these things at the gym. And, but it's just, it takes time, the transformation of it. And it's not about, it is 100% frustrating when you have put on weight and you want it off, especially if you've done diets in the past and it's like you've been successful. It's like, I just need this gone now. But if you're having trouble, if you're not just able to follow that diet anymore, then consider the fact that perhaps your values have changed, that you actually have different priorities now. You might have a family, you may have stressful situations going on. You might be in school, you might be starting a new job, you might be transitioning away from your job. There's just these things that can be in the way. And if your emotions are too tied up with it all, it's like you cannot focus on it. But these times and finding something like hypnosis for permanent weight loss, I find is often very divinely guided. It's like, wow, if I didn't go through that hard time, I never would have seen the fact that I had such a negative relationship with my body or with food or with myself or with my husband or whatever that drives us to eat and cause us to cope in these ways. I just listened to a podcast recently, and the gal was talking about she had this divorce, and it took her like a year to really forgive in the divorce. And the question was, from this host was, what if you were to know, like, what was God actually like trying to show you during that time? Like, what was the lesson you were learning? And whether you believe in God or whatever else, but it's like, if you can actually look at like, wow, what lesson are you being asked, or what are you being invited to really learn how to do at this point in time in your life? That's when just such amazing things can come in. Um, and yeah, it's just yeah. So anyway, what this woman was saying was she was like, because of the divorce, like she took it personally because she felt like her body physically was being rejected by her previous husband. It was just how the whole thing went on. And she was even in a relationship after, and the person asked if they could not be intimate until they knew that they were going to be together, getting married. And that was like a double rejection. She's like, I had to learn how to detach from the way that I looked and the way that I'm being in the world. So if you look deeper at your situation, which happy to help you do, if you ever want to book a call with us, hpwl.co, if you want to get to the source of this for you, there can be those like, wow, this is what life is actually trying to teach me right now. And if I actually lean into that and start seeing myself as amazing and safe and protected and loved, and that I actually am getting what I need, even though it may feel bad and I'm not getting what I want, then we can have such a more expansive, the whole thing can be made beautiful. Like the hardest times, I just was watching TikTok or something today, and they went around and interviewed people in the United States and just asked them very simply, like, are you happy? And like out of the 10 that I saw, only 2 people said that they were happy. Everybody was like, no, like, I'm not happy. Like, I'm not happy. And I think that's a major thing. It's like, I'm not happy. And there could be all different reasons why. We blame our weight a lot, but a lot of the times the reason that we gained weight is because there's other situations, or but if you have someone to actually look at your situation and say, there's a miracle happening right now in your life. Like, you're gonna miss it if we don't get present to that for you. Right. And I'm trying to think if there's another example. Like, what if you're being prepared to receive the most amazing thing in your life, but in order to receive that, you need to become a completely different way? Like, what if your soul is just saying to you, like, please stop abusing my body. Please stop abusing my mind and saying all these terrible things and analyzing everything to the point that I cannot even hear any of my own intuition, let alone mindfully eat. Like, please, can you actually start listening to me? Versus numbing out and trying to fix me and trying to all of the different mechanisms that we do as humans. It's just like we are missing out. One of my favorite things a client said to me was like, Leslie, have the trees always been this green? It's like when I unpack it with people, what's underneath of what they actually want, they want to be present with their families. They want to be a good example to their kids, their grandkids. They don't want to go to the grave obsessing about food anymore. Or like they just don't want to take that to their grave. They don't want their life to be about that. I've worked with 2 people whose 50th birthdays these women have been right around now. And I get that a lot. Like, I'm in my 50s, like, I want this decade to be good. Whether it's your 40s or your 50s or whatever. Like, I want to be active, I want to be healthy. I want to, you know, just those are the main things. It's like we want happiness, we want inner peace. And that's what I wanted too. I remember Googling, how do I achieve inner peace in 2010? And that's when I found a guru who had some teachings, and my whole path started to unfold from there. And what he said was, you are not your mind. Your mind is just an accumulation of thoughts from birth until now. If you were born in a different family on a different planet, you'd have completely different thoughts. He said, you're not your body. Your body is just an accumulation of food that you've ingested from the time you were in your mother's womb all the way till now. If it was not for food, you would have no physical body. And I could get down with the body part, but the mind part baffled me. It was like, how, like, I was so attached that those thoughts were me. I thought that this person that was thinking and analyzing all day long was me. And it's not. Well, then, Leslie, who are we? You're a spiritual, conscious being. And you are so much more than the thoughts that are going through your brain. And consider that you are missing out on the magic that's available to you in life. There's so much more magic, you know? But we're missing out because we're battling our situation and trying not to gain weight all day, every day. Right? We're missing out on like having deeper connections with our family and friends during this one precious time on the planet because your brain is moving at 1,000,000 miles per hour, analyzing, thinking, fixing, emotional, being emotional, eating, guilting, shaming. I remember traveling all around the world and just being so petrified of gaining weight. I was meeting all these amazing people. I had one friend come up to me and he's like, are you actually like here? Like, I know you're here, but like, you just seem like you're like really like in your head. And it's like strategizing about all my next meals. And it was that structure, that rigidity, that trying to be perfect all the time. Like, you just miss the magic. There's so much magic. There is a life outside of food prison. I wish that there was somebody who came to me so much earlier in life and said, hey, girl, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not an addict, and we can work with you to fix this, you know? And you can actually have a normal relationship with food and have it not be weird. And like, that is a life-changing situation. I literally thought that it was something that I was plagued with, that I would never be free from. It took me 20 years to figure it out. And now I have the proven program that we've done it hundreds and hundreds of times. It works every time you work it. You don't work it, it doesn't work. You work it, it works, because that's how you change your brain. Emotional mastery, personalized coaching, community, as well as mindset. You learn how to think like a food freedom person, someone out of diet mentality. You get to become that person. You have other people who are up to the same game supporting you and having conversations about how to flip the script and become a new way. Because if you're not, then you're around other people that are still saying sugar is bad and dieting is what you need to do and exercising is what you need to do. I had a client in the past and she was like, my husband is always telling me, like, just eat less and exercise more. And she was like, and I always do worse when he says that. But she's like, when I come to your class and you tell me to eat what I want and to have abundance, and there's a certain way that I teach it. I'm not saying just go and do that, because I did that on my own without support. And I also failed because I did not have emotional mastery. But she was like, and I do better. There are certain people, dieters for our whole life, that in order for us to actually be successful with weight loss, we need to do things a completely different way than what society, any doctor, anybody is saying in order to get there. There is a mental and emotional block, mental and emotional blocks, plural, in the way of your being able to get out of food prison. And we're here to help you shine a light on it, show you what you can't see. If you haven't booked a call, it doesn't have to be a sales call. If you're ready to sign up, of course, I'll let you know and we can get you started right away. But I'm just happy to be in service. The call that I did tonight, we had a beautiful conversation. She was able to and she was like, you're spot on. I wasn't able to see it the way that you just helped me see it. And that's exactly what my issue is. And I see that this is exactly what I need. And there's nothing more comforting than to just like have the answer. It's like, I just want to give you the answer. And the podcast is great to like hear about and to, have this conversation that could like kind of help you numb out on some of these thoughts as well. But unless you're actually getting that clarity for you, doing the work for you, taking action on this stuff, nothing changes. Not true transformation. It'll feel relieving. It'll feel comforting while you're listening to the podcast. True change happens in the action, and the awareness. So that call is available to you. You can go to our website, hpwl.co, get on my calendar. It might be on my team's calendar first and then on my calendar. And then, yep, we can just work that out if we know that we can help you. Yeah, through awareness comes freedom. I think I would like to get that printed on a sweatshirt because I say it all the time. But I have added to that of like, through awareness and action comes freedom. It's just how we rewire the brain. You have to take action in different direction, and then there's going to be new neural pathways that grow. And then you get to experience a completely different reality. One where you may actually mindfully eat automatically, not because you should, not because you have to, but because your brain's slower, you're feeling better, you're feeling happier, you're at peace. You have a greater understanding about where you're at currently on your life path and how it's different from back in the day when you weighed less and were in such an amazing groove. Like, you are not the same person you were 10 years ago. And if I know anything, it's when you look at photographs from yourself from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, You remember taking that photograph and saying, oh my God, I'm so fat. And now you look back at those photographs and you say, oh my God, I remember feeling fat that day. And now I'm way fatter. Now I wish that I could have loved my body back then. And consider the fact that you have not learned how to love and accept your body, period, as it is now, embrace where you're at right now, love yourself where you're at right now, appreciate where you're at right now, is why you keep gaining weight year after year after year after year. It's like, it can only stop when you stop it. You have the control to actually stop it. The first way to stop it is to book a call. Book a call, take the first step, find out the answer, and find out how you can stop it. No one else can do it except you. No one else can do it except you. So yeah, be brave. I had a friend and she was like, one day I'm going to hire that coach. I was like, why don't you just book the call with her now and just see the details? Because maybe you're going to want to hire her now after you talk. And she's like, oh, great idea. And then sure enough, she was like, it's exactly what I need right now. It's like, what are you're putting off your life? How many more years of life do you want to be obsessed about food and trying to figure this out on your own when you don't have the answers? It's not your fault. It's not about your smartness or your IQ. It's about reality of the fact that there's just a lot. You can't see your own self. It's the same as why pro athletes have coaches. They can't see the way that they're playing and what tweaks they need to make during the game. The coach is watching. They can help see and show the team what's missing so that they can win. So just smart people have coaches when they just are seeing that they're not winning, and they're seeing that that coach can help them get there where they want to go that much faster and easier, and maybe even have some fun along the way. I like to have fun during our coaching calls. I say funny things, even though it's serious in how we help you get out of there. But I just talk about the silliness, like, of just what we try to do is like, oh, I'm just going to have a little tiny bit of this today, and I'm going to mindfully eat today. No, you're not. It's just like the reality of like, there's just so much that is just, it's laughable and not funny at all at the same time, this whole thing. But once you realize how much you can change it and how rapidly, we can laugh a lot more and be happy a lot more. And just start embracing who you are, appreciating what you have. And from there, that good energy, weight loss gets to come, new ideas come in, wanting to treat yourself better comes in, dealing with life more powerfully happens, so you're not holding on to all the anxiety that causes you to eat after work. All the things. All right, so mindful eating is BS. You got to learn emotional mastery first. You got to get to the root cause and learn how to think in a clearer fashion for yourself and do something that's authentic to you. That is the recipe for permanent weight loss. It's amazing. You're going to start seeing a lot more of me coming up on Instagram. So if you haven't followed me there, head over there. I'm going to be doing lots of videos. Leslie M. Thornton is my Instagram handle. These podcasts are also on YouTube if you like video form. And what else? Obviously, these podcasts are here. If you haven't joined our Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss Facebook community group, that is also a great place. You'll see podcasts live. If you have not yet liked and reviewed this podcast and you like the podcast, I would absolutely love and appreciate if you could look up the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, subscribe, like, review. It just helps us really make the impact we want to make with all the people we can serve. And yeah, without further ado, we'll see you for the next episode. If you are serious about taking action on your struggle with food, body, and weight, then this is for you. Go ahead and text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5688. 5483. Immediately after texting that number, you will get access to our free training that will tell you why you can't figure the food, body, and weight thing out, why you can't keep weight off even after you've been successful in the past, and how to actually overcome it, including a mini hypnosis session at the end. Don't miss out. Text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483.